So can you describe your general overview or opinion of the dynamic of the Ukrainian-Canadian community?
Ukrainians have accomplished an awful lot here in Canada. So let me say first the negative, and the best time to talk about the positive. I think one of the problems is still we don't reach out, we're not inclusive enough. And that's a real challenge it's because maybe we don't know how to define. Are we Ukrainian Canadians, Canadian Ukrainians, English speaking, non-English speaking? Do we do this? Do we do that? For example, when I go to Ukraine, I'll tell you how bad I am. I mean, I go to Služba and when it's in English, it doesn't. I don't mean a Roman Catholic. I can go to that. That's Roman Catholic because it's supposed to be in English, right, or Latin, or whatever I'm going to. But Ukrainian ones are supposed to be in Ukrainian because that's why I was brought up. So my mind narrows, and every so often I say to myself, okay, can't think that way. And in some sense, that's probably part of the problem. Have I done something there? Yeah. So I think part of it, we don't know how to include people. And that's my example of where I don't. But there are lots of other things, other places where that also doesn't happen. As everywhere else, not only are Ukrainians, like every other society, stratified according to their wealth and their education and their whatever. They have power in many ways. And that's good. We need to have leaders, and we have incredible leaders. We've had some really amazing accomplishments. St. Vlad's is one of those. I saw St. Vlad's being built when I was on campus here. And who would have thought that this thing here, that this putting up a Ukrainian a residence? Are you kidding me? That it would be serve such a really important function. So somebody had great vision. But I think there are some things that still tend to exclude, and they do exclude. But look at the things we've done. So St. Vlad's is more than a student residence. It's not what I thought it was going to be when I was living in a residence across campus, the other side of Queen's Park. But look at what it does. Look at the organization in here. Look at the important part it plays in I don't know, I can't talk about campus life because I don't know what it does on campus. I don't spend that much time really sort of on campus looking at it. But I'm sure it is playing a very important role. It's given the beginning to so many things that have done. I remember what was his name, Taras Shipovic or whatever his name, I think was his name, brilliant in what he did and these things. And people all came to watch the stuff he did. So I think St. Vlad is a great example, and I think just a sidebar, it reflects the incredible dedication of the probably pre-war immigration, the Pravoslavny, and I had my family became Pravoslavny because there weren't no Catholic church, and that's, as they say, this wasn't a big deal at that point. But those out west who kept their language and their faith, their Ukrainian faith, much more so. I mean, look at the things they've done. So there's St. Vlad's here and all the other things that they've done. The Shevchenko Society, the things that have been done, the various chairs of Ukrainian studies that have put together. And I give credit to the what did we used to call them before we became the study banniket? They were the study banniket, but they were the starshi. Now we're the study banniket because we've had all those post-war immigrations after that. But there were people who were there, and yet they managed, in spite of the fact that they didn't have the help of that immigrants now have. We didn't have that either, but we had my uncle to sort of get us started here. But they, in spite of that, they managed to build community. They managed to build churches. If they didn't keep the language, some of them did that too, but if they didn't keep the language, they kept a knowledge and an awareness of themselves as Ukrainians. So that's an amazing thing. I think the post-Second War immigration that we belong to, I think brought a different group of people here. And I think among them were a lot of intellectuals. Not that they were in the first group, but this is the group that emigrated because they couldn't stay. They were chased out. They got shot or they fled. And so I think a different dynamic emerged. Many things came. I mean, St. Nick's that we belong to. That's an incredible church. It's the one that touched Dr. Lifsky, who knew. Remember when he was once at RFD, he said, "I didn't know anything about being a parish priest. I was a professor at the theology institute, and this is." And look what he's done. I mean, it's a church to be known. I mean, the world knows about it. Everybody certainly of Ukrainians know about it. So there was that aspect of things, because he brought in incredible knowledge, in-depth knowledge. In Sarnia, we put together a church for everybody. St. Nick's is the prototype that should never change. I mean, we should always be able to go back there and, touch what was real. And even if we have other churches that can't quite do this or can't quite do that, this is a place that really, shall I say, quote, keeps the faith and the traditions as they should be. So I think that's very important. And there are other examples like that, too, of the post-Second War immigration. I don't know that much about UCRDC, but I suspect that one of the reasons that this came about is that of that group who emigrated, there was a real recognition of the need for documentation of these things that happened. And they were people who had the experience and the know-how, and they're going to the younger people now, who are the cinematographers, who are the writers, who can do this, who can do that, and that's very good. But it was that group that came who had the vision that this is very, very important. I mean, there's so many of these groups. Then each of the organizations, I think PLAS has grown into be an incredible organization too. It has linked itself up with the Ukraine. They do their Tabata there, and that's quite amazing. I think other organizations like that, and I think SUM does the same thing. Again, I don't know that much about them, but I know, and they, from their ranks, have come some amazing people. A lot of the priests that we have now in serving a number of the parishes have come from the SUM community, which is impressive to me. It's good because we need them. We still need priests to run our churches. Even if we only pop in there on Sundays occasionally, we still have to have somebody else who's there.
True.
And I think so there's that whole aspect of things. And I think then again, so that's just sort of the Ukrainian things that are done. I think Ukrainians have played an incredibly important role that's not just Ukrainian, but they are Ukrainians who have managed to reach the tops of whatever their professions might be. So when you have somebody who's a top-notch cardiologist, world class, and his name is Kultavik, that's good. When you've got somebody who's doing an amazing presentation somewhere, I mean, maybe one day it'll be part of the Nobel Prize in some other area. That's what you get. You have people who are writing papers, and I'm saying this is now not just about Ukrainian, but who as Ukrainians have managed to do well in their own specialty, because that's very important too. Mm-hmm. We can't just be looking inward to what we have to do for Ukraine as Ukrainians or Ukrainian Canadians or whatever we are, but we also have to be part of the world fabric. And the more important we become in the world, as who we are, the better it is for Ukrainians. And there's so many examples of that. But now I think one of the challenges is for us to take these people and make sure that we support them. So if we've got somebody, just because he doesn't belong to SUM or PLAS or go to this church or doesn't go there, I don't mean just use them, because we like to do that. Oh, he's Ukrainian, whatever. But rather, honestly, be there to see these people and try and encourage them, encourage the students when they're going through there to move with their head. Find these people and don't put demands on them. Oh, but just say, how exciting, congratulations. I mean, let's send a little note saying, hey, you did really well. It was so nice to see your name on the program. Congratulations. Mm-hmm. And we are the whatever. It doesn't matter, no
support.
Yeah, we don't want anything from you. We just want to tell you we recognize your fine work. Because that would keep some of these people part of our community, and sometimes they're not, because they're not, because they weren't the senior people in PLAS, or they didn't. They weren't the people who were at, it doesn't matter what the you name the organization, because we all have our little areas where we can specialize and do things. But we've got to take these other people and bring them in. Maybe it's somebody who's made I mean, people have made a lot of money, so have oftentimes given back to the communities. But I'm thinking of people who are moving up in the ranks, and whether it's business or finance or banking or research, or, it doesn't matter. But making as important it is to do documentation like you're doing here of who we were, what our roots are, and so we would be able to stand firmly on the ground saying, I'm not going to get bowled over by that next whiff of whatever wind that's going to come along. I know who I am because I stand firmly planted here on all these generations of Ukrainians who've been here before. But also seek those out who, maybe his parents just kept the name, but that's all they did, and so he doesn't even know much about it. But wouldn't it be nice to be able to say, hey, you know, we're honoring all the people who were gold medalists across Canada, or who were I don't know. I haven't thought of it in particular, but I'm just thinking. I have seen people who are Ukrainian of background, recognize their Ukrainian background, but nobody wanted them in Plast, and they weren't so important that they weren't part of whatever was going on in the church, and they just weren't. This didn't speak to them. They come to the students' club. I know our son said that he come to the Ukrainian students' club, and he just didn't speak to him. Just didn't. They didn't see because he wasn't part of the group there, and that's fine. He had other places where he could go and be. But that's a loss. It's a loss for him, but it's a loss for the Ukrainian community too. Because if he could do so much and bring so much to it. But he's just a prototype. I mean, there are many like that who actually might try it, but they're not welcomed. And I don't think you have to sort of, lock them in so that they feel that they're smothered. But so I think we could expand our influence.